Hey, so as you work your way out of debt, you might be wondering, like, when do you start to invest in your retirement? Now, many people rely on and are familiar with things like 401ks for retirement, but is that enough? Now, Joseph Lombardi from Ironhawk Financial joins us on today's episode to break down the basics of retirement and share his thoughts on why a 401k might fall short and some ideas on how to build a stronger financial future. My name is Brad Nelson, founder of Debt Free Dad. I paid off about $45,000 of debt, have been debt free now for more than 12 years. I've also been fortunate to help thousands of other people save and pay off tens of millions of dollars with the work that we do here at Debt Free Dad. Now, guys, after listening to this episode, if you're ready to take things to the next level, you're ready to break free from living paycheck to paycheck, you want to reduce financial stress, you want to say build more savings and finally pay off that debt for good. I mean, how amazing would that feel? But like many, maybe you're not quite sure how to get started. Well, we've created some incredible free resources here at Debt Free Dad to help you get there. And I'm going to be sharing some details about how you get started with those later on in today's episode. So, hey, Joseph, welcome to the Debt Free Dad podcast. So glad that you're joining us here today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Hey, real quick, can you just share a little bit? Obviously, you're very knowledgeable when it comes to investments and retirement, and we're going to talk about that, broadly here today on today's episode. But can you kind of share how you got there? Like, what makes you an expert in this area?
Well, when it comes to not just being debt-free, but emotionally, physically, mentally, and spiritually debt-free is what got me to this point. I was unfortunate enough to see my dad fall 3 stories off a ladder. It was a $25 million construction company, Joseph Lombardi Builders. He had no disability. Wow. I watched my mother die at 52 years old, cirrhosis of the liver from alcoholism. She had no life insurance, left me emotionally and financially devastated because I was her closest of kin. She left us when I was 4. And I watched my grandmother have a stroke, led to dementia, and she lost $4.2 million to Ludlow Nursing Home because she had no long-term care. That took my grandfather 40 years to build, right? So I was unlucky enough to go through a bunch of pain, to go through a bunch of seeing how not to financially plan, how not to have a financial foundation, what it does to somebody on a deep, deep level of emotional, mental, and spiritual pain. Because you want to be able to heal, right? You want to be able to suffer and get through. But when you have bills to pay, you got to get your butt back to work on Monday. Yeah. Like, there's no grieving. So we just bury it, right? And then it comes out in different ways. But it's something where I lived it, and I wanted to make sure it didn't happen to other people. I've also been in IRS debt of over $150,000. I've had a bunch of reversals in this business, meaning somebody started a plan and then within a year canceled it. I already spent the money and I had to pay back the insurance company. So I had to take my money I saved because we're 1099 and I had to pay the insurance company. I couldn't sell anymore. And then the IRS said, well, where's our state and fed money? And I'm like, I ain't got it. So then there was penalties and interest, and 37 grand turned to 150 grand over 3 years.
Ouch.
So
yikes. Now, you mentioned you kind of went through your own journey, like you're just talking about. You got out all of that. Can you share, obviously that's what we do here at Debt Free Dad. We really kind of help people end that paycheck to paycheck living to get them to the table with you to start looking at things like, hey, retirement and future planning and all that great stuff. Can you share just some of the basic things that you did to get yourself back to the point where you can win again with money?
So this was back in 2009 when my mom died. That's where I went in deep depression and I worked for a couple of years the way I was working before she died, before I got the proper mental health help. But I did envelopes, right? Which I know we don't have cash anymore, right? So the envelope strategy worked well for me. I knew that my first house mortgage, which was a 997 square foot house with a carport on 0.18 of an acres on a hill, right? That's always, it was a starter home. I didn't want to rent. Right. I lived in the crappiest house that I owned. I still own it. And actually, I'm up $250,000 from when I bought it 15 years ago, believe it or not.
Wow.
In equity. I haven't sold it or anything. I just rent it out, which is paying me like $500 a month for life. Plus, that's going up with inflation. I was at that point, and I just had a plan, right? Because if you fail to plan, your plan's to fail, right? Yeah. It's like saying, I want to lose weight, but I have no plan, and I'm not going to do anything differently, and I'm just going to magically lose weight. You think you're going to magically get out of debt when you're doing the same crap that got you in debt?
Yeah.
You have to have that plan and that structure to say, hey, this is where I am. And if it's in your head, it's a dream. So you have to write it down to turn it into a goal. And then once you write it down, you come up with a game plan, right? If the goal is, I want to get out of debt, then there should be bullet points, right? I'm telling every dollar what's going to happen. Those dollars aren't telling me what's going to happen at 10:47 on a Friday night while I'm drinking a beer, scrolling on TikTok, buying crap I don't need. That's the dollar telling you where it's going.
I couldn't have said it better myself. Oh, that's awesome. You're absolutely correct. I love that you pointed that out because, as you mentioned, you're very successful in what you do, but you started in the same place that a lot of people are listening to this in. So
I started worse. I grew up in an attic with no running water. I ate noodles and eggs with ketchup every night. I had hamburger helper with the hamburger meat. I remember going to special McDonald's days when there were 49-cent cheeseburgers because that's what my dad couldn't afford. I grew up in extreme poverty. I had nothing. I became a self-made millionaire based on all the childhood trauma I went through and the ADHD that it caused me to get. And then I just grind my butt off because I can't lose. I never want to go back there.
Right.
So I almost have like a devil with a pitchfork on my butt saying you can never stop, never stop, never stop, because I never want to be back being impoverished like I was.
Yeah. Well, it made you hungry.
I'm hungry every day to grow like the business. You know, in 1 year I went from no guys to 30 guys. I went from being in Connecticut, now I'm national.
Yeah.
I went I never made 7 figures in my life ever, and I made it in 2024.
Yeah, that's incredible. Well, congratulations to you, man. It's a heck of a comeback story. And now that you're helping people, obviously, with this whole idea of retirement and setting them up financially and passing down that knowledge, that's awesome. That's incredible. Let's get into it just a little bit as far as this retirement stuff, because we'll get this question, obviously, from many of our people like, hey, Brad, I'm aggressively paying down my debt. I've got an end goal in mind when I'm done. But like, I'm thinking like, what's after that? Like, I want to start looking at things like retirement or investing, or even like you mentioned, like real estate, or, what are the things that are out there? So can you just, if someone's considering retirement or any of these, can you just kind of outline just the basics of things that they should start considering?
So if you're out of debt, right? Because I have clients and prospects that come to me saying, Joe, I'm ready to invest in that tax-free thing, averaging 15% rate of returns, liquid, sue-proof, divorce-proof, can't lose, could be my own bank and leverage the money. I want that thing. And I'm like, okay, I can't just sell it to you. I have to make sure it's suitable for you so I don't get sued or you don't start this thing and then you can't afford it in a year and you lose all your money. So I do fact finders, and half of the time I can't work with the people because they're in high interest debt, right? If you have a retirement account, right, and you have a 29.99% credit card interest rate, your retirement account is not netting you 29.99% tax-free rate of return on your money. So you have to really take a look at what am I paying versus what am I loaning or investing, right? What am I borrowing and what am I loaning out to invest for the future? If what I'm spending on my current debt is a high interest rate, stop your retirement account. Do not do it. I don't care how great it is that Bitcoin's going to go to the moon, diamond hands. Cash that out, pay off your debt. Debt is cancer to your financial health. Debt takes away the earning potential of you in the future. Debt's going to be robbing you of that Wednesday drive home 8.5 months from now where you're miserable because you had a fight with your wife and you don't want to be there. And that whole experience you went through was to pay for something you did not need that you put on a credit card 8.5 months before.
Right.
So you have to make sure to get out of debt is number one. Think of that as like your life. Because if I said, gun to your head, if you don't get out of debt in 12 months, you will die, and or your children you love most will die. I guarantee you'll be out of debt.
Yeah.
So you know what that tells me? It's not a priority to you. So make it a priority.
Right. Man, we preach that message all the time here. And it is. Debt is robbing you of your future. And sadly, we just live in a society where debt is just so normal. So for people to even think about like to have no credit card debt or not pay off my cars, or
it's nice.
To be able to spend a good amount of my income towards investing and building my own.
How about building my quality of life?
Right.
I just bought a new front door for 16 grand, a new back door for 5 grand, brand new garage doors for 12 grand. I'm getting a sauna, a hot tub. It's cool.
Yeah.
Like all the money I made in the past 10 years went to my gambling debts, went to the IRS. So I'd make a $150,000 deal and I have to give it all away. Yeah. Now the money that comes is mine. My only debt I have is the mortgage on this house. I bought my wife a brand new 2024 Escalade in cash, ESV Sport. I still have a debt on my car. I have a Jaguar, a 600 horsepower SVR, but I kept that because it's 3.3. So I'm like, I'd be stupid to pay that off. I'm making 3% on the bank's money with inflation.
Right.
So I have my car, my mortgage, and my solar. That's the only debt I have. Everything else, no credit cards, nothing, no college loans, everything saved for my kids. I got 3 accounts all set up for my kids, tax-free, by the way, that they can use for college. Having financial peace. And with my childhood trauma, I gambled. Why? Because I would blow all the money I earned so I could get back into that trauma focus. Because that was something that I had to work through, right? We all have our own things we have to deal with. Because you think about it, if you win the lottery, right? How many of those people are not only lose all their money, but go bankrupt? Can you imagine winning $100 million and then 6 years later, not only did you lose the $100 million and spend the $100 million, you spent 120. You're 20 million in debt and IRS debt. So you have to go bankrupt. So it's not about the money. I have clients, right? I've been doing this 22 years. I have 2,000 clients, over $2 billion of protection and rollovers in my career. I've won 29 industry awards, right? I have clients who make $80,000 a year that are millionaires, and I have clients who make $600,000 combined, and their net worth is negative.
Wow! I hope all you guys heard that.
It doesn't matter how much you make. That's the mindset, the trap they want you in. Oh well, I don't make 6 figures a year, so of course I'm brokey. I don't do this, so of course it's a BS excuse. If you had every single thing planned out of what is going on, you can easily get to where you want to be. But if it's too complicated, I don't want to think about it. Work's stressing me out. My girlfriend, my ex, my kids, my baby daddy, my baby mama. There's always going to be something in your life that is hard. And if you don't spend the time to do it, and I'm getting my chubby fat butt to the gym 3 times a week. Because I realize if I'm rich and unhealthy, all the millions in the bank are going to mean nothing if I'm in a ventilator, or if I'm in a home, or I have to stay home. I can't travel when I'm 65 or 70. So it's a balance. But you have to understand that money is, first of all, most talked about in the Bible than any other subject in the Bible. I wonder why. Yeah. Because when you understand money, what it does, it gives you peace. It gives you freedom. And if you don't have that peace in your life, you will never be financially wealthy, because you will find an excuse or a reason to blow it.
Yeah. I love that you brought up the amounts, like the 80,000 and the 600,000. I want to pick on the 80,000. You mentioned you have people who make around $80,000 a year and they're millionaires. So someone who's listening to this, they're like, how the heck does that happen, Joseph?
Right.
Like, I want to do that. So what did those people specifically do? Obviously, you mentioned get out of debt. I'm guessing that they are.
Yep.
And what's the next step? And what have they done all these years to get to that level?
So most of my clients invest in IRS code, right? I don't know if you remember when Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump were on the political stage fighting for presidency in 2016, and Hillary Clinton goes to Donald Trump, show us your tax return, show us your tax return. Donald Trump says, I didn't show my tax return. I didn't pay no taxes because I use the same IRS codes that your donors use, and you had 30 years to close the loophole and you didn't, right? You can easily rewatch that.
Right.
What they were talking about in that moment was IRS code 7702. You can Google it. IRS code section 7702. What the heck is that? That's a code embedded in permanent life insurance, not term life, embedded in permanent life insurance. It allows my clients to be their own bank, meaning if this couple making $80,000 a year took 20% of their income, which would be $16,000 a year, lived under their means. Most important, most of us are living over our means. We spend 102.1% of our GDP as a country, which means for every dollar that comes in, we spend $1.02. So they lived under their means. They took 20% of every dollar that came in and they put it in my strategy, right? In that time, it was called a whole life plan, right? Interest rates shot up. I just switched them all to an IUL, right? Index Universal Life. I know I'm speaking Spanish for a lot of you guys. Right. So by doing that, it built a foundation for their family. Well, what does that mean? Foundation, all these generic terms. What it will do specifically is it'll give you the ability to leverage your money. There's no 59.5-year rule or 10% penalty like a 401k or an IRA, okay? You cannot lose in either one. One uses option contracts like calls and longs against puts and stops. Now I'm starting to speak German. I get it. They have the ability to leverage the money out to finance vehicles. They're their own bank. So imagine you not paying Ford of America 13.99% on your car for 7 years, an 84-month loan, where the car you bought was $30,000, but you're paying $53,000 for it.
Right.
paying 23 grand in interest over 8 years. Imagine instead of you doing that, you're your own bank. The strategy's been averaging 15%, and they charge you a 5% loan rate, and you still earn money on money that's not there. You know what that's called? Your viewers can Google this. Non-direct recognition. So if you have IRS code 7702 with non-direct recognition built into your life insurance, retirement, liquid savings account plan, you can then buy whatever you need for the rest of your life and earn interest on money that's not even there. So I had a client that just sold a house in California. I know these are large numbers. You don't have to do large numbers. I have clients who do $200 a month, $500 a month. Dumped in $1.1 million from the sale of his house in Santa Barbara. Bought a house in Arizona for $680,000, downsizing, divorce, had 3 kids. They were older, so he didn't have to stay for custody or anything. Put the 1.1 in my strategy, pulled out 680 the next day, still earned interest on 1.1. Even though 680 paid for his house, which saved him an additional $500,000 in interest over the next 30 years. So now he was able to earn 2 streams of income on $1 US.
Yeah. And that's incredible. I mean, especially because, and I don't know if you mentioned it, this is infinite banking, right? Is what you're talking about?
Be your own bank, rich person's Roth. If you want to really learn about this, go to Forbes, rich person's Roth on Google. And there's an article from 2018 on Forbes written by a public accountant who doesn't even sell life insurance. And there was one written in 2020, written by a certified financial planner on this strategy that I've been doing for 22 years.
Gotcha. Okay. So now you had mentioned though, so I mean, what are the negative sides to this? Like you had mentioned
Yes.
if
Yep, there is
for
negative
some
side.
reason, like I'm guessing if you back out, not a good thing. Like
what's called lapsing the policy, cancel it, you're going to lose a boatload of money. Short term, it sucks. It's not a 12 to 24 month strategy. I had a couple clients that dumped, in that case with the person had 1.1 million taking out 680 the next day. He was able to do that. But if he wanted to take out $1 million after putting in 1.1, he couldn't. He only had access to about 65, 70% of his money year one. Then it's like 75%, then it's 80, then 86, then 88, then 90, then that, and it's a 10-year surrender. And why would they do that? Well, they do that for number A, to cover the insurance company's butts because they pay us commission, right? And then people think, oh, commission, oh, you're just selling. Do you know how much you pay in your 401k and your IRA? Do you know your 30th year of fees is more than what you contributed the first 2 years combined? Instead of a 401k or an IRA, half the money while you're accumulating it goes to Wall Street. And then when you take distributions out, half the money goes to the federal government. And what do you get when you're paying these 12B1 fee, Class A share fund fee, money manager fee, annual account fee, mutual fund expense fees? What are you getting? I'm getting the satisfaction to know I'm paying for some schmuck's Lamborghini in Manhattan. And I used to be that schmuck. I worked there for 7 years in Manhattan, Wall Street. I was there. Or you can go the private route where there's competition and hundreds of investment and financial and insurance companies fighting for your dollars. And they're coming up with cool strategies of adding long-term care for free, adding liquidity features for free, adding option contracts so you can't lose. Give us your dollar, Peter. Give us your dollar, Sarah. What's the government doing? They're a monopoly. Oh, pay the penalty, pay the fees. You're locked your money. Do you know how much money you got in 08 when you took out a distribution before you're 59 and a half? 31% of your account value you're able to take out. 31%.
Yeah.
So what people don't do is they don't do that long-term planning. You have a past self, a present self, and a future self. If you live in the past, you live in depression. If you live in the future, you live in anxiety, right? But you have to plan for your future, because if you don't do it, nobody will do it. And if you're enriching your present self with debt, all you're doing is screwing your future self.
Right. You had mentioned you can set this up like a certain amount every single month, but how long does that go for? How does like the whole structure of this whole thing work? The amount, how long is the term? Does it ever mature? Or what does that look like?
I have clients who dumped in 300 grand year one and paid nothing for the life of the loan. I have clients that do $500 a month. It's very malleable. And the cool thing about the IUL that's not in the whole life is very rigid. You pay your $500 a month for 30 years and you'll get your $1 million of death benefit guaranteed to pay out whenever.
Right.
IUL, the be your own bank strategy, is flexible. So what if you have a really good year, right? You can throw in 20 grand. Let's say you have a really bad year, you put in 0. What if you have a really good year? You put in 15 grand. What if you have a bad year? You put in 2 grand, right? So that gives you the flexibility. I will tell you one thing. What is bad about an IUL is if it is built wrong at the wrong carrier with too much death benefit by a greedy, commission-hungry insurance agent. This has to be at the right carrier. There's only 3 of them, and there's 200 to choose from. So good luck.
Wow.
There's only 3 of them, and it has to have the right riders, and you have to lower the death benefit because the death benefit is what has all the fees, and where all our commissions come from is the more death benefit you buy, the more money we make. Meaning, I can make more money on a $500 a month policy than a $3,000 a month policy.
Wow.
It's all how you build it. And a lot of the public is so ignorant to it. They're like, sure, I'm just getting to be your own bank. Well, they realize they're getting rinsed and the policy is going to lapse and you're going to lose a boatload of money. So you have to make sure. I mean, half my business is replacing those crappy life insurance policies you were sold by these network marketing life insurance guys where they're like plumbers 9 to 5 and life insurance financial planners from 6 to 8. Like, good luck. So you have to make sure it's done right.
Yeah. And like you said, one of the benefits to Infinite Banking, at least this model, is that there is no penalty if when you access that money, like say like a IRA or a 401k, something like that.
Well, not only is there no 10% penalty, there's no federal tax, there's no state tax, there's no FICA, Medicare, unemployment, or Social Security tax. There's no loss if the market goes down for any reason. It's sue-proof. It's divorce-proof in most states, right? It's averaging 15% documented in writing by a 178-year-old, the oldest insurance company in the world that does this strategy, the 3rd oldest in the world behind New York Life and Penn Mutual. I worked for both those companies, by the way. And me being in the business for 22 years, working for 6 of the top 8 insurance companies before I started my own business, I know everything. And I'm not sounding cocky or anything, but when I tell you I know everything about product, rider, structure, whole life IUL, height, weight, rate ratios, liquidity, returns, and I'm a broker, a master broker. I have access to 200 carriers. So I actually work for my clients. I'm not pigeonholed because when I was working at MetLife, guess what? I sold you. MetLife auto, home, life, annuities, investment accounts, disability, long-term care. Were they the best in any of those? No, but that's all I could sell you.
Right.
Now being able to shop the whole market, I give you the best product on the market. And I don't care what it is. That's only 3% of financial advisors, agents, insurance agents, planners in the world can do what I do.
Yeah. Last question for you, Joseph, before I'm going to give you an opportunity to let us know, like, where can people find out more information about Infinite Banking and if it's going to be right for them or information about you. But if someone were in this and they do die, because you did say there's a death benefit, what happens to the money that they put in there to actually use as the investment side? Does that get brought back to the family or the estate, or how does that work?
Great question. So in a contract, there's option A, which is level, which means you don't get the cash value. Then there's option B, which is called progressive, where you're able to have the cash value accumulated and the death benefit. So the death benefit goes up every single year as your cash value grows up. So you get both tax-free. One is to keep the cost down. You could do level, because what if you don't care about the death benefit? What if you have no kids? I have 18 to 22-year-old people. All 3 of my kids have these policies right when they were born. You have a 15, 12, and 9-year-old, right? So my 15-year-old almost has $100,000 in cash in his account by me putting away $380 a month for the last 15 years.
Yeah.
It depends, which is cool because you can do option A or option B. And me having software, I can custom build plans for anybody.
Sure. And obviously, as someone who's an expert in this, I mean, you have someone who's and I'm guessing not everyone would be a good client for this product too, right? I mean, you have to have a certain situation.
If you're super aggressive, don't do this. Like if you like Bitcoin and XRP and you're putting all your money there, good luck. Keep it there. Right. This is more of a more like a moderate, right? Moderate. Whole life is conservative, right? Yeah. Whole life is for grandma, right? The IUL now, I do have 18 to 22-year-olds because 15% tax-free annual compounding, and the cost of insurance is still nothing for a 23-year-old, 30-year-old, 38-year-old. It's so cheap. Right. If you're 55, if you're 60, may not be, that strategy for you. Unless you want long-term care and you don't want to be thrown into a jail, also known as a nursing home, that's where I sell a boatload of it to the 55 to 70-year-old community. But I don't sell it as a growth play, even though you do get all your money back. I sell it as a long-term care play. Awesome.
Well, Joseph, thanks so much, man. This has been interesting. I hope our listeners got a lot of this. And if they want more information, where can they find more information about you and Infinite Banking?
Right. So I've written 3 books. Being Your Own Bank, There's a Better Way Than a 401k, and Long-Term Care Without Long-Term Pain. If any of your listeners would like all 3 of my books, the articles, all the major news outlets I've been featured in, International Business Times, Business Insider, Market Insider, I will send you everything for free. Just write an email to joe@Ironhawk Financial. Free books. I heard you on Debt Free Dad. I'll send you a Calendly link if you want to book a time on my calendar. If not, you don't go on any type of list or anything. So you can go to joe@ironhawkfinancial.com. Send me an email if you like, meaning you're not ready, like to meet with me, but you want to learn about this, right? I'm going to give you everything for free. Number 2, if you are ready to meet with me, you can go to www.ironhawkfinancial.com. Iron like the metal, hawk like the bird, financial.com. And there's a contact us button on the top right. Just fill out your name, your email, and your phone number, and me or somebody on my team will reach out to you to get you on my calendar.
Awesome. Well, like I said, thanks so much for being here. We appreciate your time.
I appreciate you, and I'm a debt-free dad too, and it feels great.
Awesome. I love it, man. Thanks so much. All right, guys, if you're ready to break free from living paycheck to paycheck, you want to reduce financial stress, you want to build savings and finally pay off debt for good, but again, you're not sure exactly where to get started, don't you worry. We've got you covered. Simplify My Money is sent each Sunday to your email. It's your step-by-step roadmap to better financial control, and you're also going to learn some easy-to-follow strategies to manage your money effectively. Stress-free money decisions that will help you simplify your financial life with proven tips that work. And you're going to gain the tools and the confidence to tackle your financial goals head on. Sign up for Simplify My Money by clicking the link at the top of the show notes. Thanks for joining us on today's show, and we'll see you guys on the next episode.